You got to get on up and move your body, family. Now, I'm sorry I had the mic muted so you guys couldn't hear what I was saying. I'm talking the whole damn time. This is the hottest YouTube channel, hottest live stream on Thursday nights. And if you're tuning in, then this must be Random Topics with Gavin Richard, where Gavin Richard presents. We have our special guest, Shawn James, author of the book, The Man Crisis, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, as well as the new John Haynes series. You can pick that up on Amazon.com. The latest book, John Haynes, Taking Care of Business. And we also have another special guest here. We have on my brother and friend, Mr. John Renthrope. John is the creator of Cajun Brewery. We're about to get started in a second, gentlemen, so I'm going to bring you all back in. But as we talk about John Haynes, the man with nothing to lose, and also to promote John's business, Cajun Brewery, we're going to talk about blacks in the brewery business and, of course, some other issues that are going around the country at this time. So I need you all to tune in, relax, and we'll get started. But first, before all of that, we're going to check out the latest single. Got to get on up. I need you guys to please go to Apple, iTunes, and Spotify and download that song, Support a Brother, if you can. And John, hello to you. Hello to you, Shawn.
Hello.
I hope y'all are doing great. John, you can hear me?
Oh yeah, man. I'm happy to be on the conversation call, man. It's good to meet you too, Shawn.
It's good to meet you too.
Yeah.
All right, guys, it's time to get on up. So I'm gonna bring you all back in, but let's play this hit single that we have here, so everybody can get on up, as we say.
Girl, come on. Gotta dance to the beat, because on the dance floor is where we're going. Show me what you got. Gotta feel the groove. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Party's wasted. There's nothing much to do, but once the groove gets started, tell me, what do you have to lose?
Yeah.
Just look into my eyes, girl, as we glide across the room. And what to my surprise now, the beat takes hold of you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really moving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get all out and move your body. Cause when the beat is really moving, start to feel your body moving. Gotta get all out and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up. Tell the DJ play the whispers. Rock steady in the mood. Put on earth, wind, and fire. Tonight we're gonna groove. Show me how you do the four corners. Electric slide or two. Hit the bus stop, or do the body hop, baby. It's really up to you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really moving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get all out and move your body. Cause when the beat is really moving, start to feel your body moving. Gotta get all out and shake something up. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up. Now, 2020 hasn't been the best year of all times. We've been dealing with death, the pandemic, racism, bad policing, and all the bad rhymes. But like Uncle Snoop once said, if you breathe, then you're achieving. So if you're ready, I need you all to get on up. Are you ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Get your butt on the dance floor. 5 and 6 and 7, 8. This jam we appreciate. We're gonna slide and step on the beat. On the dance floor is where we'll feel the groove. Get on the floor. Get on up and move your body. 'Cause when the beat is really moving, start to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something up. Feel the groove. Get on the floor. Get on up. Gotta get on up. Come on, baby, gotta get on up. Baby, feel the groove. Get on the floor. Get on up.
That's dope.
Yeah, I saw John shaking his head. I'm gonna have to get Shawn to dance at least once and smile when that song comes on. I'm trying real hard. Yeah, I'm glad you like it. Thank y'all. That took a lot of work, man. So I'm in the music business and so forth. I like that's right, Far Side. Song is not bad at all. That was the idea I was going for. I was going for an 80s vibe with it, like Babyface, The Whispers, definitely Earth, Wind, and Fire in particular, the Gap Band. You know, if you grew up in the New Orleans area, when we cleaned our house, I saw people talking about that Gladys Knight versus Patti LaBelle challenge, how they cleaned their house to Patti and Gladys. I don't remember that. I cleaned my house to the Gap Band, didn't you, John?
Yeah, it got the SOS band vibe to it.
Yeah. Shawn said, yeah, you had that too, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the Gap, I mean, our R&B station up here in New Orleans is WYLD 98.5. You know, that's all they played was Charlie. All they played is Charlie Wilson and stuff, or now it's mostly Bruno Mars stuff and so forth. So yeah, I wanted to go with that because that's the era of music that I remember as a little kid that we had. Cool in the Game was another one. Joanna, yeah. The original Joanna, Stevie Wonder, all that. So, gentlemen, thank y'all for tuning in. We got Shawn James. Shawn, of course, you have the latest book, John Haynes, Taking Care of Business on Amazon. How's that been so far?
It's been performing fairly strong, but I want to keep the momentum going on Taking Care of Business and the John Haynes series. I'm still out here pushing and promoting it. And I'm also pushing the new ISIS series book, ISIS Revenge of the Cyber Goddess. So I'm still trying to get more people picking up the books on the SJS Direct imprint. And that's something I've been pushing and persevering to do for the last couple of years now.
Very well. And of course, I guess we could talk now about your business, John. John, of course, has a brewery company, Cajun Fire Brewery, that he has launched here with his family. His brother, Mark, who we're also close with, good friends with my brother. Our families, all of us, all the boys, we all grew up together. You know, we were the same schools. And you founded that, of course, with your family, with your brother, Mark, and also looking here on Cajun Fire Brewery. It was another gentleman who just named the team for me, who brought that together, John.
Yeah, we got my wife, Courtney Renthrope. She graduated and is from New Orleans as well. She's an entrepreneur. Background is in CPA and finance. My brother, my blood brother, Jamal Renthrope, that Gavin you mentioned. He does all our chemical engineering and everything with our products. My other, my Purple Knight alumni brothers. Big Purple. Adam Dawson, who is our creative director. He does all the graphic design work that you see before you. And also Paul Taylor, who's also Purple Knight alumni. He does like all of our content as far as like the historical content and archaeological preferences and things like that we include in our branding. Yeah, we don't use any kind of caricatures. It's all real history that highlights, our Black contributions to this literally $100 billion industry.
$100 billion industry. And how many brewery companies black-owned in the United States?
Right now, it's 50 in operation. Unfortunately, even like with that, there is, when you look at the disparity, it's 8,000 craft breweries in operation, right? So there's only 50 black-owned breweries that have black-owned ownership, and that's not even like 0.1%. So it's a lot of disparities, but we're recognized as the first black-owned beer company in the South. And I always like to let people know it's since Prohibition. We had a lot of black pioneers that created products in this industry. However, the unfortunate thing is if you couldn't be recognized as a human being, you couldn't be in ownership of an LLC, right? We take that title with a grain of salt.
Most definitely. Here's the team of everyone. I see Jamar doing his Omega Sci-Fi pose there. John is a Kappa. We see Courtney. Yeah, this is his lovely wife. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So graduate of Ben Franklin. So this is important, people. And I look here. They're only about 5, according to your about section here. Yeah, we say here it's the first black-owned brewing company in Louisiana and the South. So that's historical.
Yeah, and we just been, we've been real happy with all the support, the community advocacy that we've been receiving. It's a very regulated and intense industry. I would argue by design. So we being that we are in Louisiana, it's not really a lot of people treat like alcohol consumption. They don't really think nothing of it because we have very lackadaisical alcohol laws if you're a consumer. We got drive-through daiquiri shops. You got open container, all these things we kind of, if you're from here, you kind of take for granted. But if you're on the flip side of it, which is manufacturing, we're neck and neck with Mississippi is having the highest and toughest regulations in the nation when it comes to manufacturing craft beer. So it's a lot of lingering things that's left behind from Prohibition that we still have to navigate as far as being in an ownership position in this industry, in this region.
Most definitely. All right. So where can people buy your product at Fire Brewery?
So right now, we actually about to launch in statewide in Michigan in early May. So we haven't yet done a press release to disclose what stores we're going to be in, but nationally we are available in Trader Joe's. We also have Total Wine as an account as far as our national accounts. Locally, we're available in Rouse's, Robert's, Canseco's, a couple other like neighborhood mom and pop shops that have chains. We lost like a considerable amount of our bars and restaurants and on-premise locations just because of the nature of COVID. A lot of closures we saw, like specifically in the restaurant industry. So we don't really have too many restaurants that still carry our product.
There are physical manifestations of the New Orleans way.
Sorry,
but yeah, we're growing and we're trying to just reach into different areas. So right now we only have distribution in Southeast Louisiana, 6 parishes in Southeast Louisiana, as well as the state of Michigan. We also have the rights to sell beer, but haven't locked in a distribution company yet in the states of Georgia, as well as North Carolina and South Carolina. And, it's not an easy feat, but, like I said, we've had a lot of great community support. We've worked with a lot of different organizations, and, we continue to try to grow in these different ways to try to scale our business.
Most definitely. And I don't know if I should announce the big news that you and I have discussed what is coming forward, or if you want to announce it, or just hold off on it.
Yeah, I mean, you can. We did lock in a procurement opportunity with Walmart, and again, that's something we haven't done a press release yet.
Come on, y'all, clap it up. In the comments, that's big.
Yeah, so we'll see. I don't want to celebrate until it's like literally on the shelf. So we just working on things, man. It's a industry that has a lot of interesting dynamics to it. And I just appreciate the opportunity to talk to your audience about some of the things we're doing, and also encourage other people to kind of take their hand in manufacturing craft industries, because man, it's a $99 billion industry. It's on the rise. It's ever growing. It's prohibition proof. It's pandemic proof. It's, we sell inelastic commodities. If you don't have people bartering cash, they're gonna be bartering something, and it's something that's been always entwined into our history, right? So I'll let you take the floor, but man, it's a lot of things that you can look into in this industry, and it touches every region, every culture. It's a very cultural specific product that's been around for centuries.
Most definitely, man. Well, best of luck to you. Thank you for that, man. We definitely will support. Shawn, do you drink beer?
No, I don't drink beer.
Okay. Shawn's not a drink. You a drinker, Shawn?
No, not at all.
Good for you.
You're gonna live longer.
Yeah. Promoted out here. Butterflies is saying promoted out here in Colorado because they got Beer Fest out there.
Oh yeah, Colorado is spoiled, man. They got a lot of festivals like just for everything, So yeah, that's definitely in our pipeline to get out there. Most of the time when I go to like these huge craft beer conferences, it's either in the state of Colorado or it's in the state of Oregon. And I frequent them areas a lot just off the strength of the industry, and that's where like a lot of the innovation is coming from. So I always try to reach out to those type of markets because they have an appetite for it, and they definitely have like the infrastructure to kind of get in with a distributor and take on a niche product. So it's in the pipeline.
All right, most definitely, man. I'm real happy for you, brother, and best of luck always. We're gonna definitely buy his beer. You can buy Cajun Fire beer. If you're here locally in New Orleans, I know there's some locations like at Rouse's across the river, out in Gretna. I know that's available. They also have it at some of the other stores. You want to tell some people? Shawn, John, you want to tell some people where they can buy it?
Yeah, I know your audience is like all over literally all over the globe, Gavin.
People that are in New Orleans that want to buy.
Oh yeah, in New Orleans, again, we're at Trader Joe's, Total Wine, Rouse's, Circle Food Store in the Treme, St. Rock Market, Conseco's. We've been really getting it in, man. We introduced ourselves through festivals, and from there we was able to cultivate a good following. So we try to be in a lot of institutions. One unfortunate thing is, there aren't too many opportunities to have our product inside Black-owned institutions in a city like New Orleans. You got a world-renowned culture with a lot of Black architects and people that have contributed to like jazz and things that travel all over the world. But as far as like ownership opportunities,
they're few and hard to come by here in New Orleans because everything that they have done and focused on has been downtown, and New Orleans makes its money as a tourist destination primarily, but they try to keep it from out of areas, especially Black neighborhoods like New Orleans East, which is where we live in and grew up in. And you're bringing this brewery actually to an area that needs economic development, which is New Orleans East. We're trying to do that.
Right. Yeah, we're currently developing a 10-acre area of land that was previously just blighted. It's zone C3, so you can pretty much do anything on it as far as commercial land. That's a gold mine to have that much ownership and site control of an area where you can do this type of work. So me and my family we acquired this land. And, we really were driven because, the area I'm from New Orleans East, like Gavin, it's an area that has a high population density, a high level of home ownership, some of the highest in the region, actually. And, we still suffer from a lot of the disparities that you see in like areas that's deemed food deserts. So, we're trying to, create a manufacturing base that can create job opportunities. And also create just an atmosphere of civic pride. We don't really have a manufacturing identity in this area of the city. It's a high loss of tourism dollars that don't even participate in that community. So, we, our company was created in the shadow of Katrina. And with that, that's been our mission to revitalize the East, create an atmosphere, engage in quality of life, and just give, people something to do and also some aspire to. So that's kind of what,
business here, yeah.
Mhm.
Brings business here.
Yeah, bring some business, and we right off the interstate. So we just did a matter of fact, we just did a traffic index study, and not even on a holiday, we was netting 120,000 traffic passes each day. So we just trying to engage some commerce in that area and really get it up and going, because it's been far too long since Katrina for that area to not be activated. When you got all these different events and things going on in the city nonstop, even with a pandemic, right?
Right. Doesn't stop. As I'm talking to you, brother, the name of the beer is Cajun Fire Brewery. Guys, I hate I don't want to talk like this over. I got breaking news on my just now. Shock G of Digital Underground has passed. The power of Digital Underground. I just saw that just now as I'm talking to you, John. I'm jumping to that. Of course, he was the creator of Humpty and do the Humpty Hump. Shawn, I want you to comment on it right quick. First off, I guess we'll get to that in a second, John. We'll come back to talk about the brewery. But what do you remember about about rapper Shock G and Digital Underground?
Well, I remember Shock G and Digital Underground from my high school days. I remember when they came out in 1990 with the Humpty Dance. And I remember when they were a really big thing back in 1990. And they were a major part of the whole Gen X group that I grew up with, because I remember that 1990 when they came out, and it was a major, they were a big deal back then. And it's a major shock to hear that Shock G has passed away, because he was only 57 years old. I mean, he's still a very relatively young man. He hadn't even lived out half of his life. And it's just a shock to hear that he is no longer with us. And like DMX before him, he had a major impact on an entire generation and the music that we grew up with, because everybody, again, back when I was in high school, that was a big record back then, Digital Underground's Sex Packets, and it was considered to be a classic as related to rap and hip hop. And it's sad that he has passed away so soon, and it's sad that that's the third rapper we've lost this year. I mean, we lost DMX about, I think, a week ago, and then we lost Black Rob, and now we've lost Shock G, and sadly, it's like all of our great talent is passing away.
Don't forget, old boy from the Fat Boys, Marky.
Marky D, he passed away as well.
Yeah.
So we're losing a lot of our legendary rappers, and it's sad to see so many of them passing away like this. I mean, you would think that these guys would go on for a long time, but they're passing away, and they're not even getting to 60 years old. And that's the saddest thing about it, as related to a lot of these men passing away, is they're not even 60 years old, and a lot of these men are gone and they're no longer with us, but their music is still with us, and I'm hoping people will appreciate the legacy that these men have left behind.
Yeah, Shock G too. He was a producer. I mean, he was responsible for Tupac's career. He produced "I Get a Ride" and "So Many Tears" by Pac, man. But everybody remembers the Humpty Hump. One of my favorite songs they did was for a movie called that they did for Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase did. It was a bad movie, but the song was called "All Around the World," the same song.
I believe the name of that movie was Nothing But Trouble or something like that.
That was it. Yeah. I can't play the song for copyright reasons, but that was one of my favorites. All around the world.
That wasn't that Tupac first commercial introduction?
Yeah,
bro. That's unfortunate, man. I mean, the cat is 57.
57 years old, man. That's young. When you lose it. How old was DMX? 50? 50. Yeah. Bernie Mac. I mean, look, Bernie Mac was 50.
And Black Rob, he was in. I think he. I don't even know he cracked 50. He might have been right there.
And, you know, that's another thing too. A lot of the artists that have been associated with Diddy, somebody posted this. You know, they end up broke or dying. Somebody in bad situations, but I don't know if that has anything to do with Diddy per se. But I mean, I could say this much: the music industry takes a lot out of people. People put a lot into it. They pour their all in it. They sacrifice everything, and it's not kind to them. And that's just entertainment in general. But rest in peace, Shock G, man. That's a hard one. For DMX and Black Rob, it doesn't tell me what he died from, but I mean, you got to live life to the fullest, man, because you just don't know.
Man,
You don't know when it's gonna call. You don't know when it's your call, bro. So
now that's why you got to stay with God, and that's why you got to keep yourself together spiritually, because you never know when your last day is your last day on earth.
yeah, you're right, Shawn. You're right. Rest in peace, brother. All around the world, the same song. Over Humphrey Love. I liked. I remember Humpty, and I think one of my favorite episodes of Yo MTV Raps was when they were looking for Humpty, and they couldn't find him. Fab Five Freddy was looking. They were all looking for him, and he didn't appear till like the end of the episode. And they thought Humpty was a real person, but it was really Shock D in disguise. He said, "I can't. It's me." I was like, "Okay, well, we got to do a shot with you and Humpty." So they just did a digital version of them together. So that's how they worked that out. But yeah, that was actually, yeah, man. But
yeah, man, he was real level headed, man. Like I'm sure like a lot of people are gonna be revisiting a lot of his interviews in the past, the ones you could kind of find on YouTube. But yeah, he was because when he was hot, it was a little bit before my time. But you know his legacy, man, and you know for anybody that dive and do a deep dive into hip hop, like somebody that's on the comment wall has stated, if they didn't have Shock G, you wouldn't have Tupac.
yeah,
He took him under his wing, took him on tour, kind of showed him and broke down the industry to him. You know, yeah, like how you find all his pictures. You know,
yeah. Look, this fool. Somebody put Michael Steele and Humpty as the same person. And he does look. Michael Steele does look like him a little bit. But that's Pac right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not from nothing but trouble. Oh man. All right. Sad news. Yeah, they used split screen for that. I remember that. But that was on Yo MTV Rap. Next thing we're gonna do, we want to talk about obviously some stuff that's going on. I'm just gonna get into it. This incident, of course, with I hate even bringing her up, but it's her time to get roasted. The ostrich gets roasted. Candy the Mammy and Sucker Carlson on Fox News. I don't know if anybody had seen it, but your Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, aka the Dick, as John Stewart called him on Crossfire back on CNN. If y'all remember that back in 2004, he called him the Dick on live TV. They basically said mob justice is what caused the Derrick Chauvin verdict, and especially Candace Owens. I'm going to play a clip of it. Of course, this is covered under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. It's being shared only for educational purposes. I don't own the rights to the video, but there's the ostrich. So we're going to play a little bit of what she has to say. This doesn't surprise me what she says, but essentially she stated that she called the verdict mob justice and was very likely influenced by politicians like Maxine Waters.
Mm-hmm.
Candace, we're happy to have her on tonight to assess what we're watching now. Candace Owens, you'd think in a country like ours, this is the most first world country that's ever been, you think the most civilized and the most just. Here you have to consider a murder case through the lens of politics. When you get to that point, haven't you already given up civilization?
Well, that's correct. And what we're really seeing is mob justice. And that's really what happened with this entire trial. This was not a trial about George Floyd or Derrick Chauvin. This was a trial about whether the media was powerful enough to create a simulation and decide upon a narrative absent any facts. Whether it was powerful enough to repeat showing and talking about a 9-minute clip that came from somebody's cell phone without adding any context, without showing the full police video, which they could have released or refused to release the full body cam, which would have added more clarity to the fact that the media was lying. The media came out, let's not forget this, Tucker. The media came out and told us that this was a man who was just not getting his life together. He was a good member of society, and he got mixed up because a racist white police officer had it out for him and killed him.
I gotta stop it right there because I'm getting frustrated. But I gotta play this. Let me comb that with that. Let's play this because we gotta deal with this little heifer. Hold on a second. Let me share this. Stop the screen. Let me share this audio. T.I. can speak for me, and I'll let Shawn and then I'll let John tune in on it. But T.I. said enough with this.
America. We're talking about America. That wasn't the question. Which period was America great that we're trying to replicate? Which era was it? Tell me.
I think I'll answer your question. I'm not ready to answer your question.
Which era was it?
What?
Which era was so great?
Here's the thing that you guys are forgetting. America was actually one of the... Slavery was all over the world. All over the world. America was... I'm not saying it's okay, so why are you saying, oh?
Amen.
America was one of the first countries... I'm trying to answer your question, but I can't. I'm trying to answer your question.
I want to like you so much. I want to hear you. I want to be able to hear them. I want to be able to hear them.
The question, and you're just going to boo when I say slavery was all over the world, which is a fact. Why are you booing a fact?
Because you're making light of.
No, I'm not.
You're making light
I haven't gotten to my point. I'm not
making people that look like us. You can't make light of that. That ain't nothing.
I haven't even finished the sentence. How am I making light of anything?
With some bullshit.
And once again, she starts with bullshit. Let me take this. Let me start by saying this. First and foremost, how George Floyd ended up with his life or what track he was on is not relevant. That's not relevant to the case, Candace. He died, this man, there were several witnesses. Okay, let's break it down. Several witnesses that watched this man beg for his life for 9 minutes and 29 seconds. So what fucking context are you talking about? What context is there when you see a man plead for his life? You talk, I'm going to finish playing the video because I want everybody to see the level of cooning that this witch has stooped to. I mean, look, it's not even. She's overdue for me because I was supposed to do a video on her a long time ago. I tried not to do it, but I had to do this because people that someone that looked like her was murdered on live on Instagram, on Facebook. It went global. And listen to what they try to do because they keep trying to lie about this stuff.
That fell apart. All of the facts came out and all of that fell apart. We now know, of course, that he had enough fentanyl in him. It was 3 times the lethal dosage, 3 times lethal dosage in him when he died. But nobody cares because the media... Lie.
You don't care because you obviously didn't see the trial. The doctors already said he didn't die of a fentanyl overdose. The coroner who initially initiated this stuff about his heart and his condition, he still called it a homicide.
Media was successful in putting out a narrative, and they kept hitting that narrative. And the reason why the Democrats are happy is because they realize, of course, the media supports them, and now means the Democrats can get whatever they want because they can create a narrative, and then they can treat people like pawns and get them to basically say, if we don't get what we want, We will riot, we will loot, we will send these people out like soldiers to destroy your neighborhoods. And that is exactly what has happened. That has been the determination of this trial. The media and the Democrats now have enough power to bully and to lie to and to create propaganda and to successfully win. And that is what happened. And they are celebrating that win today. This was not a fair trial. No person can say this was a fair trial.
You just got to take 3 steps back and acknowledge that only one side behaves this way. I mean, a jury in 1995 concluded that O.J. Simpson, despite DNA evidence, hadn't murdered 2 people and there were no riots.
Okay, wait. Stop right there, too. That's another lie. That's another lie, because I remember watching that trial with O.J. and we forget you had a white supremacist police officer plant evidence at the scene of what they call the scene of the crime. Planting a glove, planting a sock. I saw the video where the sock wasn't initially there, and then when they turned back, the sock was there, and the blood in the sock is symmetric to the other side, like something was poured into it. One side is the same side as the other. I'm gonna finish playing the whole video because
there are a lot of people sitting behind Trump voters, sitting behind bars right now, have been for months, charged effectively with trespassing. We're not speculating. We've seen the charges. No Republican in the Congress stands up for them. Nobody mentions. Nobody, is for prison reform when it's their political enemies. That's not equal justice, but nobody says it. Why is that?
Because we have 2 pandemics going on right now. There's a pandemic of ignorance in this country, and that is only allowed to fly because we also have a pandemic of cowardice in this country, okay? So we have people that are purposefully putting out a bunch of ignorant claims, and then we have people that are too cowardly to stand up and say, you know what, this is wrong. There has been so much that has been going on in this country that is wrong. You talk about it, I talk about it, but we do not have people that are sitting in Congress that are willing to take this fight where it needs to be taken. By the way, you bring up Maxine Waters inciting violence. I'm so old, Tucker, that I remember when a man said march peacefully and patriotically to the Capitol, and that was considered an incite to violence, right? That was like, oh my God, stop the press, get this person disappeared from social media because he is calling for violence. Look at what Maxine Waters says. No one in the media is condemning these marks. That same media that condemned Trump and his supporters for weeks on end is now defending Maxine Waters, and we both know this. It's not the first time that Maxine Waters has incited violence. Don't forget, rush down. If you see a Trump supporter, you got to rush them down in the restaurants. They're allowed to do this. They play by a different set of rules, but it's because we allow them to play with that different set of rules. They get away with virtually everything because we don't have strong people on our side that are willing to stand up. And that it's a sad conclusion. It really is so frustrating. And the idea of martyring George Floyd, the way Nancy Pelosi spoke about him, it completely forgives all of the trauma that he brought against his victims while he was alive. A man that served 7+ stints in prison while he was alive, armed robbery being 2 of the reasons why. And now we're going to martyr him and say that your name will forever be synonymous with justice. Imagine, Tucker, if you were one of his victims that is alive, one of his victims that he armed robbed, and you have to hear that this man's name will always be synonymous with justice. How would that feel to you? I feel like we are living in fiction right now in America. We are losing this country and we are living in fiction because people are not strong enough to call out this stuff. And I feel like I'm one of the only ones who has the courage to say, I will not be mobbed into a different reality.
This is where they try and pull you off the internet because you're not afraid. I just got to ask you, it's frustrating, of course, to watch what you and I have been talking about, where one side ferociously defends its power, the other side abandons its voters to jail. I wonder, though, is there a point where just ordinary people can say, I'm not in control of politics, but you're not allowed to block my street with a protest or intimidate me on my front lawn or break into my store and steal stuff. Like, I'm going to defend my family. I'm going to defend my business. You don't have a right to do that. There's no justification for riots anymore. And I'm just not going to put up with it.
No.
Will we get to that point, do you think?
No, we're not going to. That's why they're already moving the ball. They're already moving it. They're moving the goalpost already because they're saying right now that that's not enough. That wasn't justice, by the way, because what they're saying is what they want is a perpetual revolution. It's why they want people to be ignorant. It's why they want people in the education system to learn nothing but race and how to be angry. They want people acting like toddlers, because when people are ignorant, they act like toddlers. They whine, they complain, they cry because they are absent facts. They are absent knowledge. So we are actually seeing a systemic oppression that is taking place that is rotten. It is throughout the propaganda that's taking place in the mainstream media, and it is working with the education institutions, teaching critical race theory and all of this nonsense to make sure that we are mass producing failures that are angry and that are violent and that are willing to riot and loot on behalf of the Democrats, because that's all they want right now are pawns in their nefarious scheme to take over this country.
Where's my vomit bag?
To make people radical, unfortunately.
Oh, man.
Candace Owens, it is great to see you tonight. Thank you so much.
Looks like the nutsack of an orangutan.
Mhm.
Let me just make this clear to Black Mama. Sorry, I normally try to keep myself calm and stuff when I see stuff like this, but it is Fox News, so it doesn't surprise me that she does that. But I had to go at her with this one for all the lies that she told. Now, let me say this too: I did not like, and I certainly agree that this may be a shock, that I didn't like how Nancy Pelosi and even George Floyd's girlfriend made comments in regards to George, saying how he sacrificed for us and so forth. He wasn't sacrificed, he was murdered. I didn't like that, but of course they use that to push their agendas. I agree that happens. But for you to ignore even the basic evidence of what happened and lie to push your agenda, you are pathetic.
Mm-hmm.
You are freaking pathetic. John, I'll let you go and let Shawn go.
Man, I was about to pass out on you, Gavin, bro. That was a lot to, that's a very dangerous person. We could all make gaffes about her, but at the end of the day, Uncle Ruckus ain't got nothing on her and that messed up lace front, right? That's the upgrade. That's the upgrade we got. Even like Stacey Dash, that pales in comparison into like just the tenacity.
Front was hanging on.
I was reflecting on like the George Floyd situation, and
her husband gonna tear it out one day because she's married to a white boy.
Man, look, everybody has they do. But I was reflecting on the George Floyd situation, man, and one thing that kind of crossed my mind, and it's unfortunate. His death was probably the most broadcast execution in the history of man, as far as modern is concerned. I can't think of any. When you look at how many times his death has been viewed, his execution has been viewed. That is something that is unfortunate, man, because that's like, I don't know if y'all are a fan of watching Black Mirror, but there's an episode when they had a anthology episode where they went to this execution thing, and this guy found out how to capture a person that was electrocuted in a little souvenir, and they gave it around, and it's the same thing. Everybody's sharing his execution, and that's the unfortunate thing. And I don't think you'll ever be able to get any kind of thing that resembles, in my opinion, justice for that. But language like that, man, that's dangerous. I know there's the immediate knee-jerk reaction because it's so ridiculous what she's saying, and the person in the voice is coming out to make a joke about the shit. But that is really dangerous language, and powers that be use it specifically for their benefit.
Most definitely. Let me also say this: you talk about souvenirs. There are actually souvenirs of some museums still have souvenirs of the actual bodies of people that were killed in the terrorist act in Philadelphia, the Move execution. If you remember what happened, well, you may not remember, John, but Shawn, I'm sure you remember when Wilson Goode was the mayor of Philadelphia. He had ordered the police drop a bomb on a building that destroyed an entire block.
That was like the first, wasn't it the first recorded, one of the first recorded posts like the deep Jim Crow era of domestic terrorism on our own people? Wasn't that like?
I don't know about it being the first recorded.
Not the first, but the first use of a bomb outside of with modern technology. It's.
The first use of a bomb. I mean, look, Black Wall Street has had it, but you might be right. This museum is called the University of Pennsylvania Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology. They stated that the remains of 2 children who died in the bombing disappeared in 2019, and the remains have gone unclaimed by the families after the bombing. So there are actually remains of these children in a museum, or they were in a museum. So, this. I mean, look, after lynchings, they used to take body parts of the lynching victims. And what you said with George Floyd, his death was viewed by people all over the world. There are murals in Russia, in Afghanistan, in other countries, in Sweden, all these other countries. There are murals and monuments to George Floyd because they witnessed the police brutality that took place and the hypocrisy of the United States with regards to how they tell other countries to get their acts together, but you mistreat blacks. I saw Ferdinand Soweto, the president of the Philippines, that actually actually got the gumption to tell a reporter, "Who the hell do you think you are?" Told him, "God damn you for trying to tell us, you and Obama trying to test us when Obama was president, to tell us how to run things. Yet you got black men." And he actually said the black man that got shot in his back, referring to Walter Scott. Y'all have all that stuff going on. I don't know about it being the first, John, but I think it was because you got to look at the civil rights movement, obviously with the water hoses and the dogs being sticked on civil rights activists. But certainly, I think it was the first bombing we ever saw on live television in color, at least in the 1980s. Shawn, you go ahead and take it from here.
Well, I don't know what Candace Owens is on or what fantasy land she lives in, but what we saw happen to George Floyd was reprehensible and egregious and a complete violation of not only George Floyd's civil rights, but just basic human rights. We saw a man murdered right in front of us, and we needed to have justice. There was no fixing of this case. This was the outcome we were supposed to get. I mean, this was a man who was murdered in front of us by a rogue police officer who did this with malice aforethought. So I don't know what your Candace Owens or your Tucker Carlson is talking about as related to this situation. This was the verdict we were supposed to get because we clearly saw a murder transpire in front of us, and people all over the world saw this murder take place in front of us. And it just was one of the worst moments in American history as I see it in the 21st century. And it showed how little things have changed in this country because here we have a black man who was practically murdered in front of us. And we talk about how our country has made so many changes and progressed, but we got a big black eye in the eyes of the international community as related to this murder. And what's sad is we got this mammy, your Candace Owens, trying to buck dance and bojangle for these white supremacists. And you got your Tucker Carlson, a white supremacist, practically in denial about what's in front of us. And really, when you look at both of them, they're a national embarrassment as I see it, because to sit there and I'd have to agree with you. Yeah, it's a disgrace because they sat there and they're going to sit there and say, "Oh, that nothing had happened." It's like, no, we saw somebody murdered in front of us, and we're sitting here talking about how America is so good and so great. But what's great about a country where a man can be murdered in front of you and it's supposed to be a free country? And this whole incident shows how black people still have earned a second-class status and practically have to live in fear of being terrorized, because this whole incident again started all over an alleged fake $20 bill, which George Floyd had no control over. And this is the reason why this man was murdered, was over this call over a fake $20 bill. We didn't know of anything about the drug use or anything about that. We knew that this was an incident where a man was arrested and he was
Right.
being, as I see it, attacked during this arrest and brutalized. And what we saw was just some of the most absolute cruelty. Now, the critical question I would want to ask your Candace Owens is, what would you like it if somebody like Derrick Chauvin did this to you? Would you think it would be okay for somebody like your Derrick Chauvin to do this to you? Same thing to a Tucker Carlson. Would you like it if somebody like this were to go out here and violate your civil rights and your human rights and practically do this kind of harm to you? Would that be okay? Because I don't see it as okay. When I looked at what I saw in the summer last year, I saw an act of terrorism in some ways as I saw it as related to this black man being murdered in front of us. And I saw something that was just absolutely just horrifying to watch. A man practically murdered in front of us. And this was the thing that really disturbed a lot of people was we're seeing a man being murdered in front of us. And then we have people like this trying to gaslight us and tell us, oh, it's not a murder. It's just police procedure. But if that's the police procedure, then America's on the road to becoming as bad as Nazi Germany.
Well, we're already there.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say,
We're already there. We're already here. Listen, and you know what? And it's going to seem odd. There are actually some things I actually agree with Candace Owens on in terms of the family unit being under attack. There are things about, the Democrats pushing an agenda. Yeah, I do. I know for a fact that they do that, and they have, and to some degree, especially when we talked about sacrifice, when Nancy Pelosi made the comment about thank you, George, for sacrificing. Did y'all see that?
Yeah, I saw that, and that just showed how sick some of them on the left are. I mean, basically, they saw George Floyd not as a human being who had rights and freedoms. They basically saw George Floyd as somebody who was just out here and nobody they really cared about. I mean, this was a human being that lost their life. He did not sacrifice his life. He was murdered by this police officer. And she's sitting there just showing how deeply disconnected and out of touch she is as related to this man's life. I mean, he did not sacrifice his life, and I doubt he wanted to sacrifice his life if that was needed. I mean, this man was murdered, and she's trivializing this man's death. I mean, that's the thing that disgusted me, and the whole thing is because she's on the left, nobody's going to hold her accountable for what she said, but she needs to be held just as accountable as anybody out here on the right, like a Tucker Carlson, because in both cases, neither one has respect for black life and no regard for black people's lives as I see it.
Let me play the video for those that haven't seen it. This is Nancy Pelosi. There's another video also of George Floyd's girlfriend. We're gonna play that as well.
Thank you, George Floyd, for sacrificing your life for justice.
Michael, John,
For
turn your
being there to
phone
call
down.
out to your mom.
Speak it
How
down.
heartbreaking was that? Call out for your mom. I can't breathe. But because of you, and because of thousands, millions of people around the world who came out for justice, your name will always be synonymous with justice. Thank you, George Floyd, for sacrificing your life for justice. For being there to call out to your mom. How heartbreaking was that? Call out for your mom. I can't breathe. But because of you, and because of thousands, millions of people around the world who came out for justice, your name will always be synonymous.
That's y'all liberals.
and Gavin, I can't help but look at like her cast in the background, those representatives. You notice when she's saying all that off the wall shit. None of them
It's the colored hair SJWs.
No, he gave his life. I love him with all my heart.
I gotta play this one. This is George Floyd's girlfriend.
To have him standing next to me. Yes, but I know he gave his life so this could happen. And I know that he gave his life so that other people's cases can get reopened. We can re-examine the cases that occurred. We can get justice for people that deserve. I love him with all my heart.
This was fucking embarrassing. I gotta agree with Kit. I agree only on that aspect of it. But John, you were making a point. Notice the people behind it. Yeah, that's the.
It's not even any kind of inflection that she said anything that was clownish. You know, they just going along with the flow. You even got one of the representatives wearing Good Trouble mask and all that dumbass branding. Man, it's like,
Lord, don't let me, God, man, don't let me get started on that Good Trouble stuff.
That slogan is just as dangerous. I mean,
my mother and father, my parents don't like it when I make fun of John Lewis. You know, I'll spill blood on the bridge and some. Like, Good Trouble. I don't care.
It's cringe inducing, man, and it's like, you know, that's just the power of these media platforms to not only condition people to believe in the most egregious things, but also just shape this whole narrative. Like, you know, nobody ain't signing up to sacrifice themselves to be killed that way by the cops, right? And now that's the repeated language. It's crazy, man, and I just you know, it's cringeworthy.
Good. Shawn, what do you think?
Well, I'm just deeply disturbed by it. I mean, when I look at that whole situation, I mean, these people act like George Floyd life didn't matter. I mean, they're basically trivializing this man's life. I mean, this man did not want to sacrifice his life that day. I mean, I believe when he went into that store, he was just basically looking to go buy whatever he wanted to buy and then head home. So I don't see it as him sacrificing his life. I just see it as many of these leftists trivializing his life just as bad as the people on the right who want to say, oh, this was a fixed case. I mean, both sides are just showing how little regard they have for a black man's life. And the left people are even worse because they're acting like, oh, this man gave his life like he's some sort of Jesus. But that wasn't the case at all. We have a black man who was murdered by this rogue police officer, and they're acting like he made some sort of sacrifice for things to be better. But we all know that that's a lie. Nothing is going to get better. What they want to do is pacify the masses, make them feel good, and then eventually get back to the status quo. So they're sitting there making it look like, oh, he's some sort of martyr. But George Floyd wasn't a martyr. He was somebody who was murdered by these police officers. And we keep trying to minimize the whole situation with murder. And they're trying to not say the word murder because murder implies malice of forethought. And they don't want to be accountable for the evil that they've done. And we've got people on the left and the right going along with this. And sadly, we got some NPC black folks going along with this narrative, not understanding that you could be the next George Floyd. All it takes is one run-in with the wrong police officer.
Most definitely. And all it takes is one run-in. And I mean, your status, and this is for your Candace Owens, this for your Larry Elder, all of those queens that are up there, Larry Elder, Herschel Walker's son, his Bussy Brigade, the Mr. Captain Bussy, that's what I call him. Because for him to get up there, I don't know if you saw his video on Twitter where he just, I really try not to pay attention to these fools because they're nothing. They're beneath, they have very little intelligence. Athletes, and I'm not talking about real athletes, but they are the last person, celebrities in general are the last persons that should be talking really about social justice issues. Because they're not, especially if they're not in touch with the community, if they're not don't know what's going on. Muhammad Ali was a different story. Jim Brown was a different story.
Mm-hmm.
Herschel Walker, without football, Herschel Walker, Charles Barkley, all of these guys would be big, dumb, niggas, who wouldn't be anything without a game. It's a game that made you, not brains. And you talk down on your own people, you got a platform. You got a powerful platform I wish I could have. This is all I got so far. And y'all talk shit about your own people. I'm tired of it. I remember when Barkley made that comment about how about police shootings and so forth and thinks it's ridiculous. And Kenny the Jet Smith sent a letter to him trying to calm him down and so forth. It was that bad because I think people were actually going to stop watching TNT. That was during, I remember when all of that stuff was going on. It was that bad. But, you know, people don't watch Candace Owens crap. At least black people don't. We don't support her. She's supported by the right wing. They picked them to do the bidding, to say what they can't say without being called racist. So they put a black face on it. And that's all it is. She's a white woman dipped in chocolate.
Yep.
Let me move on. There's some other stuff I want to talk about too. I want to talk and get to this thing with Shawn. You and I have been covering this, and I don't know what your position on is with it, John, but the Deshaun Watson case, actually there's been some more developments. Most recently, a couple of the accusers have first made their appearance in court, and Deshaun Watson filed his official response. We're going to go now, of course, this is to NBC Sports. Dan Patrick was reporting on this, and we'll go ahead and play it right now. This audio clip.
Significant development in the Deshaun Watson civil litigation. 22 plaintiffs filing lawsuits against Watson alleging misconduct during massage therapy sessions. Watson going all in. If there was any doubt that Watson and his camp believed that these victims, alleged victims, were telling the truth, they made it clear in the filing. It was just a 6-page document that was submitted in each of the 22 cases. And in a statement from Rusty Hardin, Deshaun Watson's lawyer, they believe all 22 of the plaintiffs are lying. That is a bold claim, and that is something that is going to be difficult to sustain, because it's one thing to catch one in a lie. It's one thing to catch two. It's one thing to catch 20. To get all 22 and to show that all 22 are lying and all 22 are making a money grab, that is a bold, bold, bold move, Miles.
Well, it seemed really bold to me just reading it, right? And you know, reading both the court filing and then the statement from Rusty Hardin. I feel like even when, you know, Hardin is talking and he says, you know, there are only 2 of the 22 lawsuits that allege forced sexual activity. Look, it just, when you're saying only in that context, it doesn't matter if it's only, right? It's one, more than one, it doesn't matter. That's still a very serious allegation. And so I just feel like, yes, it's absolutely something very, very bold. And I guess my question to you, Mike, did they have to go this bold? Because I feel like they didn't. But when you're going and you're a defense attorney, I feel like I can understand why you also would want to be very bold in taking a step to deny the allegations.
There are certain documents that will be filed in high-profile cases for the benefit of the court. There are certain documents that will be filed in such cases for the benefit of the media. This is a document that was filed solely for the benefit of the media. This is taking the court of law process and turning it into a court of public opinion weapon, plain and simple. There's no relevance to the claims of each of the individual plaintiffs as it relates to the claims that the others are lying in some way or bragged about giving Deshaun Watson a massage or showed up to massage him again.
How do you know that,
after
asshole?
An alleged incident.
No, look, I hate even watching these sports channels because these guys think they're attorneys. They're not. But I'm going to play the rest of the video because I want you to hear this is the stuff that goes on, black people, especially when you're an athlete. Listen up, Barkley. Listen up. Listen up, Herschel Walker. When you get in trouble, this is how they treat you. No, there's no sense of due process, no impartiality. They don't do anything with this report.
Misconduct.
And this is my first time seeing
their
this.
Family members how great the experience was. It's an effort to bring down all 22 by taking on the ones where so far they found problems. And I didn't see Ashley Solis's name, for example, mentioned among the list of the individuals where they have a specific concern, specific proof, specific allegation based upon the fact that they now have all the names. So this was for our benefit. This was the big reveal of the position. And the key sentence from the Rusty Hardin statement that we had up on the screen, there's a lot there, but there's one sentence that sums it all up. The answer to the question of whether we are saying that all 22 plaintiffs are lying about the allegations of sexual misconduct by Mr. Watson is a resounding yes. They are claiming that all 22 are liars. And I think they're doing this, Miles, to apply settlement pressure to the plaintiffs. I think they've been trying to get Tony Busby, who represents all of them, to come to the table and to try to work something out. But Busby knows there's benefit in being unpredictable. There's value in being coy. It could drive up the price for each of the individual plaintiffs. I think what he's trying to do is put pressure on Busby that's going to come from his clients, because now his phone's going to start ringing and clients are going to say, "What did you see what they said about me? What are we going to do about this?" And if you start getting some clients who are feeling a little wobbly, a little less confident about their cases, that's the thing that could push the whole case to the table. And that could be the thing that allows a potential settlement for all 22 cases. Because regardless of what they're saying here, I still think it's in Deshaun Watson's interest to have his reckoning, to work it out to the satisfaction of the individuals, and move on. And
Wait,
this may
what did
have
he
been
say?
intended to lay the foundation for that.
Have his reckoning. Have his reckoning. He doesn't. Now, this is Mike Florio is a former attorney. He should know of all people that in America, especially in our jurisprudence, the defendant does not bear the burden of proving a case. It is the plaintiff. There has been no criminal charges filed against Mr. Watson, as Deshaun Watson, as of now. You're presumed innocent until proven guilty. You could have one accusation against you. You could have 100 accusations against you. It don't matter. He doesn't bear the burden of proof. They do. Let's continue. I'm going to continue with it for a little bit while. I don't want to be too long with it.
Well, then that makes sense. I mean, I feel like if you're Rusty Hardin, right, the quicker that you can get Tony Busby to the table with all 22 of these women who are suing Deshaun Watson, and then say, how can we resolve this and figure out a way to resolve it that's better for Deshaun Watson in his life and in his career, because those are the two things that I think that, you know, if you are representing Deshaun Watson, those are your interests, right? What is the best thing for my client in his life and in his career? So from that standpoint, if this statement and these court filings were released for our benefit, so that we're now talking about it and we are now basically saying all of these things and repeating what Rusty Hardin was able to put in those both documents there, then we are going to be able to kind of have that court of public opinion start maybe changing, right? And I think that's at least the aim. And that's something that Rusty Hardin has said, that, you know, they want to make sure that there is still some sort of level playing field here in the court of public opinion. But no matter what, when you have 22 alleged victims, that number is still always going to be in people's minds. And so I don't know how successful or unsuccessful the effort is today from Deshaun Watson's camp in sort of changing that perception.
The fact that all 22 lawsuits were or are being responded to now, it's putting the pressure on the plaintiffs, and it's setting the stage for a potential resolution that would allow Rusty Hardin to claim on Deshaun Watson's behalf that this aggressive response, exposing the problems, is what caused these cases to settle. That's a way to maybe get back some of the reputation. Although even if this all goes away today, there's going to be people who say, what the hell is Deshaun Watson doing getting all these massages? And he's admitted through his lawyer to some of these massages becoming consensual sexual activity. So that part of it.
Okay, so if it became consensual, that's not a fucking crime. If that's the case.
Man, look.
What are we talking
he just
about?
Needs to hope that he can find a way to
what are we talking
distance
about,
himself
man?
from the perception that there was
I mean,
wrongdoing happening.
it's one person's word against 22. I get it.
Or people being pressured to do so.
It hasn't been proven in court
Hi,
as
I'm
of
Mike
yet.
Tirico,
It's still
and
got
thanks for
time,
watching.
but
Make sure
I said Mike Tirico. Mike Tirico is the Boyce Watkins looking brother right there. But what are we talking about then? It says here Rusty Harden fires back in the Houston Press. Harden summarizes that at least 7 plaintiffs after the massage therapy session, 8 bragged and praised about working and massaging Watson. 7 of the plaintiffs willingly worked or offered to work with Watson after their alleged incidents. 3 plaintiffs lied about the number of sessions they actually had with Mr. Watson. 3 plaintiffs lied about their alleged trauma and resulting harm. 5 plaintiffs told others they wanted to get money out of Mr. Watson, and 5 plaintiffs have scrubbed or entirely deleted their social media accounts. Of course, Hardy, Tony Busby, who's the attorney for these women, are going to be fighting back at these allegations, saying they're not true. In fact, several of the accusers here, let me just play this right quick. They actually made an appearance in court. You guys can take a look, but that was my first time actually putting on the mic, the Dan Florio video.
Watson's civil lawsuits were once again the focus of a hearing inside a Harris County courtroom today. Some of the accusers were there, as were outspoken attorneys from both sides. KPRC2's Courtney Sabowski live in downtown Houston with what unfolded during these proceedings today. Courtney?
Dominique, this was a typical status conference hearing. Nothing major happened during the hearing, but it's getting a lot of attention because 10 women accusing Deshaun Watson of sexual misconduct during massages were present for the hearing. Wearing masks and sunglasses, 6 of Deshaun Watson's accusers walked into the courtroom. Another 4 were watching on Zoom. They were here today, their attorney said, in response to comments made earlier this week by Watson's attorney, Rusty Harden, in which he said claims made in the lawsuits are not true and not accurate.
They're here because they've been called liars, and they're not liars.
22 women accused the star quarterback of inappropriate conduct during massages. Ashley Solis is one of them. KPRC is not showing the faces of the women who were here today who have not spoken publicly. In the courtroom this afternoon, the 2 high-profile attorneys exchanged claims accusing the other side of destroying evidence.
Deshaun Watson has unsent a lot of his direct messages on Instagram, and we've raised that issue before. We'll deal with it when time comes.
Rusty, Tony's saying that Deshaun Watson is destroying evidence on 2 of his phones. Is that true?
I think I'm not going to answer any questions other than answers no first, but I'm not going to answer any of that. It's just say I think the First Amendment's a wonderful, wonderful amendment, and I think open courts are, and everybody has the right to say whatever they want.
Another issue discussed, Rusty Harden says he still doesn't know who some of the accusers are and is asking Busby for more information.
I've never, ever experienced where 6 weeks after the lawsuits are brought, we still don't know who all of them are. But so that, in that sense, it's unusual.
And while 10 women were here today to send a message, according to Tony Busby, none spoke publicly. We're live downtown. Courtney Zabowski, KPRC 2 News.
All right, man. Shawn and then John.
Well, I'm listening to this situation and it gets more and more absurd. And the critical question that would practically destroy these women's cases, all 22 of them, is this one question. Where are the police reports? Now, if this man was an alleged sexual predator, as your Tony Busby and these 22 women allege, the first thing they would have to present as related to your Deshaun Watson is a criminal charge as related to the sex crimes they are alleging he participated in. And they would be presenting police reports in a criminal court, not a civil one. And the whole case as related to these women is falling completely apart because now we're hearing that some of these women are being investigated by the FBI. And we're also hearing that some of these women, one of them withdrew her case because she was clearly stated that she was out for the money. And another one talked about, I see some racial undertones when she said he was a black man. So right. The whole, yeah, and all of these cases are falling completely apart in front of us. But the whole thing is this lawyer, Busby, keeps pushing these cases, not understanding that he's not going to get a settlement because your Deshaun Watson is digging in his heels. And he's looking like one of those guys who's like he'd rather lose all his money fighting in court to make sure they get nothing. And their whole attempt to try to get a payday at his expense turns into absolutely nothing. So they're making this big effort to try to wear down your Deshaun Watson to get that payday, but he's looking like he's willing to fight to the end, and he has the hard evidence. I mean, his argument is a strong one because he's saying that, oh, if these 22 women are lying, and he's got evidence to prove it. And again, this is civil court where you only need a preponderance of the evidence to win your case. This is not criminal court where you have to have reasonable doubt. So he can sit there and practically swing this thing from 51 and get the preponderance of the evidence and prove that these women are liars, prove that these women's cases aren't really credible. And he's got statements from some of the women themselves saying these things. So he's willing to fight to the end to make sure that they get nothing. And what this guy is looking to do is try to get a quick settlement to try to pay these women off. And again, all this is done because all he asked for was a trade. And what these people want to do is they want to be able to emasculate Deshaun Watson and make sure that he never shows any sort of manhood, because all he did was ask for a trade. And what does the owner of the team do? The owner of the team decides to try to malign his reputation, destroy his image with these allegations, and try to have him in civil court for a case that really has no credibility and no bearings as I see it. Because if this man was a sexual predator, as these women allege, you would think they would have police reports to substantiate their claims of him being this violent sexual deviant that they allege.
Yeah.
Hey, Shawn, my brother, I couldn't have said it better. I think one thing you touched on is they're trying to devalue their product. They really view a lot of these professionals. You know, this brother is like what, 25, 26.
He's 25.
They view them as products. So
well, that's what they are. That's yeah.
So if you were looking at not valuing and not compensating, you try all the attempts to devalue, demasculate. It's a whole lot of different things that I think that's at play. And with the freshness of this breaking news, I don't think we have seen the tip of the iceberg of what's going to come out. Like I said, I think you said everything that needs to be said, and it's unfortunate, but the only accountable side of it is, that information for a 25-year-old, he don't understand. He might not understand exactly the world of economy he's in, right? And just how business operates, man. And the fact that, even like NBC Sports, they spend the majority of their broadcast downplaying and putting and showcasing black males specifically in a bad light. Like, I only have my intake of NBC Sports and ESPN when I'm in the gym. And I tell you what, I say 50% of the time, if you start tracking it ain't nothing but discouraging information they showcasing about black men. For all of the feats.
I've stopped watching ESPN and Fox Sports.
Yeah, man, and they hide. That's their base. They are in the same market. We ain't they target market. They target market is the same target market as Fox News, and they ain't trying to see articulate black men. They ain't trying to see black men that know how to manage their money. And once you start messing up that economy, then all forces come at you. And this is 22 is the constant number they keep leading with, and it's a reason. It's sensationalizing things. It throws all accountability and legalese out the window for the sake of ratings. And then this has a direct implication on this man's livelihood, right? It's unfortunate, bro. But like I said, you stated everything, man. I think it's crystal clear how this is unfolding, and I don't know the situation, but I hope everything is well with the brother.
Well, I mean, this is my whole point on it. We all should wait until the facts come out, but the bottom line is he's innocent until proven guilty. And for them to just come out like he's already guilty, like Florio and even Stephen Smith, that's what I call him. Stephen A. Smith, your Fox Sports. I don't know how Shannon has been. Shannon, I think Shannon is better than Stephen A. Smith, but I've seen him even do some stuff that made me shake my head. No, Skip, no, Skip, come on, Skip. You know, I get tired of seeing all this stuff. You guys are not lawyers. Why don't y'all have some attorneys? Hint, come on the channel, come on your shows, and explain to you what criminal defense law, how it works in this country. The fact you don't like somebody, or y'all want to just sell news, I get it, and do good stories, and do good television. You're also hurting somebody. I don't know what Deshaun Watson does in his life, and I don't know, some of this could be true. I don't know, but some of it, when I listen to it, it doesn't make sense to me.
And to further kind of get on the point that you're saying, Gavin, like, look how this is sensationalized, and I don't even know the name. But there's countless situations of domestic violence where these wives of these athletes been beaten to death. But if you fit the description and you ain't gonna be advertised. You right? They had a guy, I forgot the guy he played. I think he played with Green Bay. He beat his girlfriend, his black girlfriend, damn to the death.
No, he played for the Seahawks. You're talking about Chad
Wheeler.
Chad Wheeler.
Beat his fiance, something like that, damn to the death. And you would be hard pressed to find any kind of press about it. And
they said very little about it on ESPN.
Right.
They practically buried the story on every network.
Yeah, Shawn, they buried the story. Ray Rice was everywhere, though. Ray Rice is out of the league.
Yep.
I'm tempted to stop watching the NFL, man.
I haven't watched in a long time. I haven't watched since the Giants won the Super Bowl, I think in 2012 or something like that.
Yeah, that was the last time. So might be a possible.
The Saints franchise became my direct competitor. So in the Midland, I competed against a company called Dixie Brewing, and it was purchased as a subsidiary by the owner of this franchise. So now
Gail Benson owns Dixie Brewery. It's now called
Fayberg Brewing Company.
Fayberg Brewing Company. Yeah. So. Yeah, but the Saints are big down here. So we're going to keep it rolling. We're going to keep monitoring that Deshaun Watson case. I like talking about it because we talk about the man crisis. We talk about I know Shawn has been vocal, critical of the Me Too movement, as have I, because we don't like lynch mobs either. But it's good to have his opinion on it, and we'll keep monitoring it. Let's continue. Just one of my last topics I want to talk about, just one of two. Congress unanimously passes the Stop Asian Hate Crime bill. Gentlemen, have you had a chance to look at this or have heard about it?
I've heard about it.
Yeah, I've heard about it as well.
Yes, unanimously, Congress has passed the Stop Asian Hate bill. This bill passed on the House floor by the Senate about 2 hours ago, or rather a little bit longer than that, about 3 hours ago, by a 94-1 vote. It was introduced by Senator Mazie Hirono and Representative Grace Min to designate as a Justice Department employee to expedite a review of hate crimes reported to the police during COVID-19 pandemic. It also provides guidance for law enforcement agencies to report hate crimes, expand public education campaigns, and combat discriminatory language in describing the pandemic. Now, all of this stuff that is going on, one person didn't vote for it, and that was Senator Josh Hawley. All the stuff that goes on in the United States right now that has happened to black people, we could not get any of our bills or any laws passed. They have never passed the Emmett Till lynching bill, although that actually is designed with some LGBTQ stuff. They can't negotiate on reparations. They don't want to push reparations for African Americans. They're talking about now they're going to do a study on House Bill 40, which was introduced some 40 years ago by John Conyers. John Conyers is deceased. They've always done studies on reparations. We don't need a damn study. And you talk about, and Biden likely will sign this, but I got to say, all you voteps that voted for Joe Biden, you're about to pay the piper, because this crime bill and what it's going to do, there's only going to be one group they're going to be scrutinizing about who's committing anti-Asian hate. And I think you know who it is. If you don't know, look in the mirror. Black people. Because that's who the target is. I just saw ABC News Nightline where they talked about how Asian Americans have to have the talk with their kids about how black people are attacking them. As if you haven't attacked our children. Latasha Harlins up in Los Angeles. Let's not forget about her. Let's not forget about the countless young black men that go into these grocery stores that support your families, by the way. Buy your chicken. We buy your beer. We buy your groceries. We always shop in the grocery stores. Our women go to your nail salons. I've seen women, black women, attacked in nail shops, had nail polish thrown on them. You don't say nothing about that, but because somebody say a few words about you, and I'm not saying it's right, you know, when Trump uses says things like Kung Flu virus, there's also something called freedom of speech. Are y'all gonna ban nigger? If you're talking about stop Asian hate and watching language used during the pandemic, you gonna ban that? Y'all need to let me show everybody. This was from Reuters. This was the bill. This is not the bill, but this is a video about it being passed on Thursday, overwhelmingly. When he called the virus the Kung Flu. Is also going to provide funds to improve reporting of hate crimes and expand resources for victims. So don't tell me that they can't give money to you black people. Your Chuck Schumers.
Violence and bigotry, we're going to pursue you to the full extent of the law.
Reports of violence against Asian Americans have spiked. It was 94-1, with Republican Senator Josh Hawley the only no vote. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer praised the vote at a news conference Thursday.
This legislation sends a dual message to our Asian American community. We will not tolerate violence and bigotry against you. And to those who perpetrate the violence and bigotry, we're going to pursue you to the full extent of the law.
Reports of violence against Asian Americans have spiked since the
Why does it
beginning
have to
of the
be for Asian? Why can't it be a hate crime
Activists and
against
police said
minorities?
anti-Asian
Talk about
sentiment was fed
equality.
by comments from former President Donald Trump, blaming the pandemic on China, using terms such as Kung Flu.
I can name Kung Flu. I can name.
The bill, authored by Democratic Senator Mazie Hirono and Representative Grace Meng, who are both Asian American, designates a Justice Department employee to expedite a review of hate crimes reported to police during the COVID-19 pandemic. It also provides guidance for local law enforcement agencies to report hate crimes,
look who's
expand
co-opting the
education
movement.
campaigns, and combat discriminatory language in describing the pandemic. The measure must now pass the House of Representatives, where Democrats hold a clear majority. President Joe Biden has also called for its passage.
Man, we didn't got y'all voteps. Y'all done got Lloyd Bridges from Hot Shots as president. Y'all got Leslie Nielsen as president from The Naked Gun and Scary Movie.
Man.
All right. Who wants to go first?
Well, this is what black folks voted for. You voted for Crime Bill 2.0 disguised as an anti-Asian bill, because that's what this bill is. This bill basically is another law that's going to be targeted towards black people, even though when we look at most of the videos of the so-called anti-Asian violence, it's perpetrated by white Americans and non-blacks. And you'll have all these black people who voted for Joker Joe Biden. Where are they? That's the critical question I have to ask, because you voted against your own interests with these politicians, and these politicians turned around and screwed you with this piece of legislation, which is going to be designed to target mostly black people, as Juju Chang pushed in her propaganda piece on Nightline, even though when we look at the real video footage, most of the footage that's presented shows us, again, whites and non-blacks. And I have to wonder how many of those people are they going to prosecute for hate crimes? Another critical question I have to ask, because when I look at who's going to be targeted by these laws, it's going to be mostly black people, because that's the narrative they want to push, even though during the height of the pandemic, it was, again, mostly whites and non-blacks attacking Asians. And this whole narrative is just designed to push an agenda towards going back to find a way to beat, torture, and incarcerate black people and put them and make them part of the prison industrial complex.
Shawn?
It's unfortunate, but we have to be more politically savvy. We have to and I mean us black people, we need to just wake up and accept the reality of our situation and our position in this society. These things, this is just the beginning. I mean, the man has only been in office for 5 months. This is the tip of the iceberg. And I'm sure we've seen like the parole of the police dog, the robo dogs, and all these things are going in tandem with and all the worst brunt force of these policies, these violent policies, they directly are aimed at us. So I think things is, we only see in the beginning, and we ain't even get to summer yet, right?
Look, let me be real about something. I'm not race prejudiced against any person. I mean, we're all human beings. We are prejudiced in some way, shape, or form. But I'm not against people that want to come to this country and learn things. But I get, and be a part of the American system, pay taxes, things of that nature. But we keep getting the bad end of the stick. We keep getting the worst of the worst. We get the brunt of everything. And to be blamed for something, like you said, with the Juju piece that she did on Nightline, that put us in a bad light when we're not the ones committing these crimes against Asians. We're not. And we're not politically savvy, as you said, John. We're not too politically savvy. We're more interested in how good somebody looks, how Michelle rocked that coach dress at the inauguration, how good everybody looked. Trump is gone. He's not there no more. That's all I think about. One thing I can say about Donald Trump, he did not try and target the black community directly like Joe Biden is about to do. I give him credit for that. He didn't get us in any major wars. Yes, was he not fit to be president? You could say that, yeah, but I could give him credit for this. He really didn't target us like talking about it. And we're about to get the full brunt of Crime Bill 2.0, because that's what's about to happen.
Keep in mind, even like things that might come off as passive, like the Green New Deal, it really doesn't assist any kind of disparaged black communities when you bust it down. So I mean, it's like, it's one thing after another, and we just don't have like a lot of politicians that's in our favor, that even at those that look like us, that are invested in taking us out this position that we are in society. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see about it, man. But it's going to be tough times. And I mean, he's only been in office for, as you said, less than 5 months. Bear in mind all the stuff that he's doing and why he's pushing that. This is my prediction, and I've said this. Kamala Harris is about to be your next president. Nancy Pelosi will be your vice president. It's being set up that way because he's not running things right now. That stuff you're seeing, that's his cabinet, not even his cabinet. That's the Democratic National Committee that's pushing all of that. Be mindful. Before I get out of here, guys, I did want to mention this. Shawn, you have a video dropping on this subject, but I talked about it yesterday. I talked about it Tuesday. We're going over the Micaiah Bryant, shooting that took place. As more details have come out, Joy Behar actually made a comment about whether actions and steps that the police officer could have done. I don't know if you saw it, but she made a remark that's made its rounds on social media that the officer could have shot in the air. Realistically, guys, those who don't know anything about guns, let me just tell you, you are responsible for any shot that's fired. And guns don't have a name. A bullet does not have a name on it. What goes up must come down. That's the law of gravity. So Joy Behar saying stuff like that. But what went wrong with this, Shawn, because I know you have a video dropping on it, but everybody has seen it. Everybody, of course, it's sad when a young person, especially a child in this case, dies under tragic circumstances. I think all of it could have been avoided. I feel like the adults failed in this situation, but what went wrong with this?
Well, what went wrong in this situation, I don't believe the police had anything to do with it, because from more I'm reading and learning more about the situation, the foster home that this girl was put in was extremely dysfunctional. And when I look at who was really responsible in the situation, it was those adults who failed this 16-year-old girl, whether it be her mother who failed her or the foster family that failed her, because what really incited this incident basically was one of the people who used to stay there saw the condition of the room, complained about it, and this led to a heated argument which turned into that brawl. And that brawl was the thing that led to your Micaiah Bryant being in that situation where she was practically fearing for her life and got so emotional that she went out here and thought she needed to take out a weapon to harm one of those individuals who was assaulting her. So when I look at that whole situation, I can see what people are talking about as related to the Black matriarchy. And I can see how that matriarchal leadership, from the single mother she was raised with to the foster family she was raised with, how their toxic culture led to this girl's demise, because they were the ones, as I see it, who created and incited this incident. They escalated this incident to the point where it led to it turning into a brawl, like I've seen in the culture of videos that I've seen online over a decade, where Black women have been fighting in these fast food restaurants. They've been fighting in these nail salons. They've been fighting on the street. And this police officer, he was called to deal with this incident, and he didn't know what was going on in the case. I mean, when he came to this incident, he saw this girl lunging at one of these other women with a knife, and he went out here as a law enforcement officer. He was following procedure because he had to neutralize the threat of the person with the weapon. And most gun owners I have talked to, they have said that they're trained to shoot center mass when you're dealing with an individual who is a threat. But you have a lot of people out there, they want to blame the police officer for shooting this girl. But I blame the Black matriarchy for creating this situation, because if it wasn't for them creating that toxic environment, this girl would still be alive today. So when I look at this whole situation from a panoramic perspective, I see it as this whole culture that we've seen as related to Black women brawling and fighting in the street coming to a very violent head, and a new trend emerging, because this isn't just the first incident of a Black woman being shot by a white police officer. A couple of weeks ago, we had another Black woman who was stopped by a police officer in a car. She was soon found to have drugs in the car. She pulled a weapon on the police officer and shot that police officer. The police officer fired back and shot and killed the woman. And what's happening now is a lot of these black women are finding that their erratic behavior, when they run into law enforcement, they're dealing with people who are going to use equal and opposite force. And what's happening is they're running into these police officers, and these women are winding up dead as a result. So when I look at this whole situation, I look at this young woman, it's unfortunate she lost her life, but the people who failed this young black woman were the black women in that community. And they did a horrible job of parenting this girl, providing for this girl, and protecting this girl, and teaching this girl the survival skills she would need to navigate the world. And most of your protesters, they're out here talking about, oh, this is a race thing. But when I look at this whole case, this is another case of the black community failing a young girl. And those black women in the black community, they need to be held accountable because they were the ones who incited this incident. They were the ones who created this culture where these young girls like Makila Bryant learn that brawling in the street is a social norm. And as I see it, the people who really need to be held accountable for this case is those black matriarchs who went out here and promoted this culture of dysfunction that girls like Makila Bryant have learned for the past decade.
Well, let me say this too. I think also that when you saw the video, I won't play it again, but the father that was kicking your girl to the ground after I looked like Micaiah pushed that girl to the ground as well. I mean, what exactly happened? Why was he fighting with them? My understanding is that these were two former foster children that were in that home. And supposedly, if you read the article on CNN, this whole thing started over housekeeping.
Yeah.
This whole argument, this is how fucking petty this is. I don't understand our children these days, but when you look at, I'm really looking at the parents there is a lack of discipline, there's a lack of supervision and stuff like this. It's tragic. Yes, it could have been prevented, Black Mama, but you got to realize, and I see Butterfly said they didn't have to kill her. She had a knife in her hand.
Yeah.
I mean, when you have, I had on a police detective yesterday. Y'all saw a homicide detective I've had come on, Brother Ken Williams of Brockton, Massachusetts, 20 years homicide. In a situation like that, when the cops receive a call where they hear there's a suspect with a knife chasing some two individuals, he doesn't know exactly, unless he's been there, who those people are. And when you look at the still shot, let's look at it again. I gotta look at it. That's not a boy in her hand.
No, that's a blade. And the officer, when he came on the scene, as we look at the camera, he sees this as a clear threat to everybody there, and he wants to neutralize the threat. And on the case of that father, he was just a beta male. I mean, this is a weak man, and he's not trying to contain the situation. He's letting this woman run wild. And I believe he probably came from a single mother household himself, because that was a clear sign of weakness, because a true to the game man, he's going to shut all that stuff down, and he's going to get that house in order, because that really reflects on him when it just says how weak he is to let that situation explode like that. And to say, again, these are foster parents, and you have a mother and a father in the home, and they let that home deteriorate like that. I would have to say ACS really needs to really consider, revoking their foster status, because they created a situation with this girl where her safety was not really considered, and they let things escalate with these visitors, and it turned into this situation which led to this girl's death. And again, that man was a beta male, because that's what weak beta males do. They just stand by and let these girls go out here and brawl like this. And I've seen that a lot in many of these videos that I've seen as part of this culture of these black women brawling out here. And it's been going on for years. And sadly, we're starting to see a dark turn as related to it. This, again, is not the first incident. This is the second incident where a black girl has been killed. And the whole thing is, a lot of these black girls, they have been doing this for years. Now they're learning the hard consequences of these police. And again, the police, when they come on the scene and they see somebody who is acting violent like this, they're going to neutralize the threat. They're not going to think about, oh, let's try to figure it out. Let's talk about it. That's what females expect a police officer to do. But a police officer's job is to contain the situation and contain the threat and minimize the danger to everyone in the area. So everybody wants to make it look like the police is the bad guy. But again, this had to do with the complete collapse of the family unit and a complete collapse. And it's really a big black mark on this black matriarchy, because they're sitting there saying, oh, it's the police's fault. But no, you created these girls and this culture of girls, and this culture is now starting to come back. And they're sitting there talking about, oh, he should have shot in the leg or the arm, but that's not how police procedure works.
They're taught to neutralize the threat. And
yeah.
Listen, and you got to realize too, when he gets on the scene, he sees the dad kicking the girl, and then all of a sudden, when you look at the left, you see Micaiah with the blade. And I did hear him say, "Put it down, get down, get down." And obviously, in situations like that, when your blood is rushing in, there's a fight. People.
Let me say this. Let me say one thing, Gavin. One thing I saw that I think would be complicit is, I don't know if you got a chance to hear the phone recording when they reached the emergency hotline and get officers out there. But I think that is very complicit. I mean, that set the whole tempo of the environment that this officer that responded, not justifying anything he did, but it did set in tempo once he arrived. Like you said, you got a full. It was just a lot, and I'm not, like, again, I don't want my words to justify any killing of that nature. I don't accept it. However, I understand the system we in. If you put a distress call out there with that kind of tonality, in that area, man, it is what it is. It's unfortunate, bro, and you can't be in control of who birthed you into this world. For that young sister, she ain't deserved that. But I think the parents and the foster home is accountable for what happened personally.
Right, most definitely. And let me say, because Black Mama said, I don't accept this. They always give more time to white murderers,
right?
White known murderers. Look, every situation is different. I don't look at this the same way. This is me, and people could get mad. I don't care. Look, I feel sorry that this young girl was killed, and she's not a woman; she's a child. That's why I think she thought she could do this. And yes, she got jumped probably. I don't know what happened, but just the fact that this started over housekeeping upsets me, because this didn't have to escalate. And I have to find fault, like we said, with the family. How these women came over here. The people that were in there, the adults, again, you say, Butterfly says, I blame the grown women. Yeah, that's the adults in this situation.
And Bossy Queen, it was a series of unfortunate events that unfolded in seconds. That's right. It was a whole lot of compound things that escalated to this point. Her death was premeditated prior to this day that this unfolded, based on the trajectory of all these things that accumulated, all this ecosystem she was born in, right? Or put in. So,
And we also got to be careful too, and wait when we get. I know we're emotional right now because that happened right after the George Floyd verdict was announced. So when these police shootings arise, we all obviously get sad. We're upset and emotional, but I'll try to wait until all the facts come out before I make a judgment call on anything. I know as an attorney the legality and behind this and what constitutes as justifiable homicide, deadly force, and the law does state that if another person life is in danger, you can use force to eliminate the threat. That does happen. And like I said, things happen very quick. I hear what you're saying, Black Mama, but things happen very quickly too. This is it's a tragic situation. Bernard, King BJ is here to join us for a few minutes. What's up, Bernard?
Hey, how you
Bernard, say,
doing, gentlemen?
say hello to John.
What's going on, man?
What's going on, Bernard?
John and Shawn and Gavin, thank you for bringing me on. I'm sorry I missed the part of the Asian persuasion, I guess, but maybe I'll say a note there. But I know what you're on. I want to bring it.
Yeah, well, look,
this
you
up.
can take 5. Look, I'm gonna give you 5 minutes to at least 5 to 7 minutes to talk about both cases. So go ahead and start with the. If you could start with Ms. Bryant and then the 8 comments on the hate crime bill.
Okay. Well, I look at it like this with Ms. Bryant, and because I know people who've been to foster homes, friends, group homes, you name it. And I look at it like this. I always like to start from the beginning. So when we talk about this situation, we need to start at home. I'm not police yet. This should never got to police point. Okay. But when you really look at it in a context, I look at a lot of factors in the video that really disturb me. The man kicking the woman on the ground. Why were adults letting her fight? And I gotta go to the police part. And then I look at that and I say, well, wait a minute.
Yeah. How did they get in the house?
I don't know. But that's another thing. Yeah, how did they get in the house? And you got a problem with 15-year-old women fighting each other over, say, housekeeping. This is insane. So it's got to start at home. Now, when it comes to the knife part, I would say I do not think they should have shot her. But when you have a knife, all bets are off because everybody has a knife. And I had a woman actually sit and tell me the other day that you can actually literally grab somebody's hand and lunge and you grab their hand like that and try to take it. I told her, I don't know what movie you're watching, but that's a hard sell. Ain't too many people going to try that either. So, I told her you might be watching too many movies. But with that being said, with the situation, I do think that they're going to try to politicize it. That's my problem. This is not a political issue. This is more of a parenting issue, and whoever made the mistake here, or foster home or whatever, whoever, a lot of people dropped the ball here. Just stop calling cops for the disputes, and we'll be all right. Settle this stuff at home. When you call the police, this is what happens.
Right.
Don't call them for that, because that situation should never escalate it to the point where you got to have a knife. Now, the other question they always say is, well, she was the one who called the police, but she had a knife. But he's not going to know that either. So,
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, they're making it a political issue. I mean, this stuff happens every day in the hood. It happens all the time. You know how many husbands, wives, girlfriends, grandmothers got stabbed with a knife? This happens all the time. That's why I always say, you talk about gun control in Congress. Hell no. Daggone, you got more people to kill you with a knife than a gun because daggone, that's more accessible. Yeah, that's more accessible. So, I mean, it's just political pandering to try to get an agenda right out there and then going out the same thing. Now, let me say something because I don't want to just argue the mic and say with this Asian, anti-Asian crime bill. While we were paying attention to George Floyd, and I told you this, Gavin, they were distracting us because I think I told you Tuesday or was it yesterday that, hey, man, while you were debating George Floyd, 94 to 6 passed in the House. No, the Senate.
No, it passed in the House first.
94 to 1 voted. I mean, one senator. House. Yeah, it passed in the House. I mean, the Senate, they had a thing where they're going to debate 94 to 6. And then they passed it 94 to 1. That means every member of the Senate voted on this bill almost, right?
Yeah, that means basically
crazy.
one Josh Hawley, was Josh Hawley was the only one against it, and I guess the other 5 senators they abstained.
Yeah. Well, and
But-
I'm going to say this. When you pass legislation like that, and I was reading over it, and I said, wait a minute now. This thing says I'm giving money to state and local departments to investigate. Didn't they do that in 1994 with a crime bill?
Yep.
Yeah. So now I'm going to investigate on what I call supposed hate crimes. And I challenge everybody in the chat and on here. I say, look, this so-called Asian hate, they keep on making us the face of it when they show us beating them because it's only one place where Asians really frequent and put their businesses in, right? In our neighborhoods, right? So when I look at that, I say, no, wait a minute now. And I'm like Shawn, because Shawn's in New York and he probably sees way more than anybody. Shawn, has any Asian that had a store in New York got up and left recently?
No, they have not. No, they have not. The only time I saw them leave was in the 90s when Hispanics were taking over the neighborhood. But any Asian stores have not really left any locations here.
Okay, that's my point I'm getting at now, because you say we've been attacking you. Come on, let's walk in here and say, look, guys, we sorry we've been attacking you. We're gonna just give us a store. We buy that the block, and y'all go ahead and leave. Sorry, no hard feelings, but we're just buy the store back because we don't want to attack you anymore. If they not leaving the neighborhood, then there ain't nothing really happening, and they just making a whole farce out of the whole thing.
Yeah, it's just
because nobody's gonna sit around and beat them.
It's being used as a way to go after
Nobody's
black
gonna
people.
sit and get beat up.
Right. It's another crimes
Yeah.
bill. Essentially, what it boils down to, and we got to be more mindful of it. You know, the VOTEPs, those that voted for Joe Biden, they got to answer for this because their grandchildren will certainly pay the price. Their children and grandchildren are going to pay the price for this. Shout out to everyone that's contributed in the chat, especially Black Mama, who gave me $20 to put a quarter in the swear jar earlier. Nobody else. I'm trying to get y'all. Please contribute to the Cash App. Y'all see the ticker at the bottom. Donate to this channel because YouTube channel has tried their damnedest not to make this monetized. I'm trying to get as many subscribers as I can, so I want you all to please support, like, share, and subscribe to this. You know, I don't hold anything back when it comes to that, but yeah, you know, and I'll just say this: if somebody attack, you know, we're the biggest supporters of the Asian community because their stores and businesses are in our neighborhoods and we frequent them. We buy their liquor, we buy their lottery tickets, we pump gas from there, and they don't even let us use the bathrooms. Don't even let us use the restroom when we're here. Don, you know about it. You can't.
Yeah, I know about
it. Don, you know about it, especially. You can't use a bathroom out on at that Chevron off Bullet.
Yeah, we in New Orleans, we got the largest density of Vietnamese community as well. So I mean, even like with the reform crime bill that's being packaged and sent to us, it blankets and covers all Asian communities. So you got, you know, it ain't just like Japanese, Chinese. It's all these different other islands that pretty much make their bread in black communities. So you know, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. And you guys can take a look at the bill that was passed. It was, you know, I'm trying to actually find it. I had it here, but, you know, be careful what you wish for because you just might get it. You didn't want Donald Trump, and I get Trump was bad, but you might have gotten something even worse. And as far as, you know, like I say again, legal circumstances, you know, somebody comes at me with you know, I'm a concealed carry weapon permit myself. If someone came at me like that with a knife and tried to stab me, or not, you know, or shot at me with it, or even pulled a gun, I'm gonna pull first. I'm gonna defend my life. If I saw somebody doing that, I mean, I feel tragic about the girl again. I wish it never happened. You know, and this cop was a marksman as well on that. He was, I believe he was in the military. Nicholas Reardon, right? Is the name of the police officer.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but for Joy Behar, I gotta say this. Please, people, stop watching these television shows, especially The View. But for her to say that he could have shot in the air, he could have killed somebody else with that. You don't shoot a gun in the air.
No, that's something people see in television, but that's not done in real life.
Right. They actually have cracked down. Well, they don't crack down out here in the East, but on New Year's there was warnings: do not fire guns in the air. Why? Because what goes up must come down. I just had in my wall last year, I had to have the police come out because I found 2 45 slugs in my wall.
Man.
Now, had that penetrated, it was outside, but had it penetrated the stucco and I was walking around, or my mother or father, one of us would be dead. It don't work that way. Yeah, but stop watching. If you're watching The View, please don't watch The View.
It's the
Don't
man's
watch
favorite.
all these airheads.
Just a PSA.
Don't watch these airheads.
I'm glad I know. Glad I don't watch The View, brother.
No, it's not even made for men. So it's not no place for a man. All right, we're gonna wrap it up. Guys, you do your want to do your plug-ins. Let's start with our guest of honor, John Renthrope. John, Purple.
Well, Gavin, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate everybody listening, and I definitely love the conversation. You can follow my company at drinkcajunfire.com on all social media platforms. If you happen to be in the greater New Orleans metro area, we're carried in Rouse's, Trader Joe's, Total Wine, Robaz, and a couple other stores. And we also are going to be debuting and launching in the state of Michigan statewide. So, just stay tuned, follow our Black business, support us. We're independent, and we're making a huge impact in our community.
All right. Bernard.
You can reach me at King BJ Johnson on YouTube, kingbjmedia.com, king.com, Bernard 1121 Instagram, Twitter 1987 BJ and Bernard Johnson on Facebook. And you want to donate the cash there, $19 BJ. But make sure that you donate to the brother GBoo 2786 because he's got a lot of interesting things to say, and he has been providing good content all week as far as legal, not advice, but legal solutions.
Well, Black Mama, let me make a comment on that. You know that in this world, there's another aspect, and Judge Joe Brown would say this and agree. Shit happens, sadly. I know of cases and instance where, of course, it's not right, but there was an instance where a man had a break-in in his home. This was a Hispanic male, and I believe it was in Colorado. And I called the police. He obviously had his gun shot at the intruder. I believe the intruder left. And when the cops arrived to the scene, they saw him and they shot and killed him. Now, I don't think he was ever charged. The officer, I'm pretty sure, because even though they saw, even though the man called the police and reported a burglary, I know that they likely didn't know who was who. Now, it's a tragic situation that happened. He did not deserve to die because he was the victim. I saw another video where they shot a white man, elderly white guy, inside his house. The cops were on the man's property like after 12 o'clock midnight. The guy grabbed his gun, and a police saw the guy with the gun and fired at him. So some stuff happens. Yes, Do they handle white people differently than black people? Absolutely. We know that. We know that. But I mean, look, you can die at, is this when the guy broke in his house and attacked his grandson in Colorado? I don't think that's the same one. The one I'm talking about, let me see. I can't remember exactly which. I've seen the video, but there was one in Ohio, that same city in Columbus, Ohio, where the black man was coming out the garage and the guy just shot him. That was just a cowardly move by the cop. That was just a punk. But that's not the one I'm talking about. The one I'm talking about, he was just fatally shot and killed by the police in his house for whatever reason, for nothing. Just because, I don't know, cop was stupid, did something stupid. I don't know if he feared, what they're doing when they're ascertaining the situation when that stuff happens. So, yeah, they killed him when they arrived. That's what happened. Someone had asked, Butterflies had asked, is it all Trader Joe's, John?
Just in Southeast Louisiana right now, we're looking at, once we launch in Michigan, there's 16 stores that's going to carry us.
Right. And Shawn, why don't you shout out your stuff?
All right. My newest John Haynes series book, John Haynes Taking Care of Business, is available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited on Amazon.com. And the new ISIS series book, ISIS Revenge of the Cyber Goddess, is available on Amazon in paperback and Kindle. And right now, I'm trying to get ISIS Revenge of the Cyber Goddess to double-digit sales. So I would appreciate it if everybody went over to Amazon and picked up a paperback or Kindle copy.
All right, most definitely. Let me be clear, too, about my comments. I'm not trying to justify, this young girl's death. I don't want anybody to think that, or it's not what I'm saying, but I can only tell you what I would do if I were attacked, if someone came at me with a knife. Now, this was a child. This thing should not have escalated. I think all four of us and people in the comments agree that the adults failed this situation, because it should have never escalated. So I just want to be clear. But, out here in New Orleans, especially, we've had a lot of people burglarizing cars. We've had people being held up at gunpoint. John, you know about this. You've read it. Has it not been happening?
Not only read it, but lived it. It's wild, man. But it's our economy. We're an area that literally bread and butter is tourism, and we don't have any kind of investment in it. And now with the pandemic, it's going to be a hot summer. So I'm a concealed carrier. So
Right. This is actually the story I was talking about right quick before I leave. This was in Aurora, Colorado. That's where this happened. Yeah, the cops had arrived in Aurora, Colorado, to break in. This was from 2018. The Oriole Sentinel reports that around 1:30 a.m., police received calls about a break-in in Aurora, and that the police officer heard gunshots when they arrived at the home. They found an armed man whom they reportedly believed to be the intruder and shot him. Tragically, the yet unidentified man was actually the owner of the home and a retired grandfather who had just shot and killed the intruder. So he shoots and kills the intruder, and then the cop shot him.
Man, I know in our training the training I had, I got it in New Orleans for my carry. And that's the one thing that's lingering. You have to survive the occurrence, and then once the police show up, you got to hope that you can survive that as well. Man, it's like double jeopardy.
Yeah.
It
sucks. I think this one was for you, Shawn. Butterfly said, I'm a single mom. I would have redirected the whole situation. My son isn't a beta.
Well, the whole thing is that beta males respond to things differently than boys who have a father in their lives. Now, boys who have a father in their lives, they're going to try to contain the women and try to keep them from harming themselves. They're not going to participate in the assaulting of the other person. When you have a boy who's been raised by a father, he understands about conflict resolution, and he also understands about critical thinking. And he's going to try to diffuse any sort of situation between these women so it doesn't escalate into an incident where law enforcement gets called in that case. Now, when I looked at that whole video, I'm seeing this man, he's fighting with these girls, and that's not what a man who's been raised by a father does. No, a man who's raised by a father, he's going to be a critical thinker and say, look, I need to contain this situation, because if law enforcement has to be called, it's going to get so out of control that it's going to really get too bad. And also it's going to make me look weak, like I can't contain my own home and I can't protect my own family. Because if I can't protect my family from themselves, then what good am I as a man?
Yeah. So she agrees with that. Most definitely. Well, guys, it's been a hell of a week. I really hate reporting stuff like this because it seems we see more and more of it. I will be on tomorrow with Judge Jill Brown's show along with Bernard, and hope you guys tune in. Shout out to Valerie Denise Jones, who produces that show. And I want to thank all of my guests, Shawn James, John Renthrope, and King Bernard, King BJ, for being here. Guys, family, please support this channel. Donate to the Cash App at the bottom. You can also subscribe to the podcast on Anchor, Gavin Richard Presents. And you can also go ahead and get that single, Gotta Get On Up, on iTunes, Spotify, and Apple. Y'all be safe and be blessed. Thank you, gentlemen, for tuning in.
All right, sir.
Thanks for having me on.
All right.
Close out with that jam, bro.
Well, we're going to close out with Gotta Get On Up. Need something uplifting. We got to get on that.
Oh, come on. Gotta dance to the beat, because on the dance floor is where we're living. Show me what you got. Gotta feel the groove. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on. Right now the party's wasted. There's nothing much to do. But once the groove gets started, tell me, what do you have to lose?
See y'all, bro.
Y'all later.
Look into my eyes, girl, as we glide across the room. And what to my surprise now, the beat takes hold of you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really moving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get all out and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, start to feel your body moving. Gotta get all out and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on. Tell the DJ play the whispers. Rock steady in the mood. Put on earth, wind, and fire. Tonight we're gonna groove. Show me how you do the four corners. Electric slide or two. Hit the bus stop, or do the body hop, baby. It's really up to you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really moving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get all out and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, start to feel your body moving. Gotta get all out and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the
Now, 2020 hasn't been the best year of all times. We've been dealing with death, the pandemic, racism, bad policing, and all the bad rhymes. But like Uncle Snoop once said, if you're breathing, you're achieving. So if you're ready, I need you all to get on up. Are you ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Get your butt on the dance floor. 5 and 6 and 7, 8. This jam we appreciate. We're gonna slide and step on the beat. On the dance floor is where we'll
feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up and move your body. 'Cause when the beat is really grooving, start to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up, baby. Gotta get on. Come on, baby, gotta get on. Baby. Feel the groove, get on the floor.